Hello students, as promised, here is the video that goes over the answers to the 40 questions that were part of your assignment for the virtual science road trip. What I would like you to do is compare the answers in this journal to your answers. So here we go. Question number 1. The goals for this assignment included discovering and exploring some of the countless places on planet Earth that tie in and relate to STEAM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Also, hopefully having a lot of fun while learning. The second question was about Ringing Rocks. Ringing Rocks is a boulder field. It's located in Upper Black Eddy, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Question 3. The video that you should have watched states that Ringing Rocks began to form around 200 million years ago when Pennsylvania was part of the supercontinent called Pangaea. Question 4. The northern lights are known as the aurora borealis. They are colorful lights that occur in the sky at the Earth's north pole. The lights are caused by electrically charged particles moving through the Earth's magnetosphere and colliding with gases, which creates energy in the form of light. Question 5. The northern lights are known as the aurora borealis, which is Latin for dawn of the north. Question 6. The southern lights are called the aurora australis, which is Latin for southern dawn or southern lights. Number 7. One of the best places that you can go to view the aurora borealis, the northern lights, is Alaska. Fairbanks, Alaska is located directly under the auroral oval, which is a ring-shaped zone that sits over the Earth's geomagnetic north pole. I should have mentioned in class that there were occasions that you can view the northern lights from Pennsylvania. I've seen them myself, but it was years ago in October while trick-or-treating with my children. It was a very interesting phenomenon in the sky. Question 8. Our Earth has an iron core. The molten iron core is under heavy gravitational pressure. The molten core rolls around, it moves and creates magnetic fields that shoot out into space, forming the magnetosphere. The solar winds are made up of atomic particles, which are charged atoms called ions, including other particles like protons and electrons that you should have learned about in the past. When these atomic particles make it past the magnetosphere, they encounter the gases in the atmosphere such as nitrogen and oxygen. The energy that's produced gives off light in the form of photons. Oxygen produces yellow and green up to about 150 miles. Once you get above 150 miles, the color red is produced. Nitrogen emits a blue color up to about 60 miles. And of course, because the gases in the atmosphere mix, the colors can also mix, especially during stronger solar storms. That was the end of the first set of questions. The next set of questions started with number 9. The Mutter Museum is America's finest museum of medical history. Number 10. The Mutter Museum is located at 19 South 22nd Street in the great city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number 11. The reason the plague masks were worn by plague doctors were to protect the doctors from breathing in bad air, which they called miasma. The masks contained something called theorec, which was a mixture of 55 herbs, spices, and other substances. There were things like honey and cinnamon and lavender and all sorts of things in the mask, like the idea of potpourri. Number 12 was not a question, it was just a task to search for Einstein's brain in the search bar for the Mutter Museum. Question 13 asked you specifically about Einstein's brain. So when Albert Einstein died, Dr. Thomas Harvey, the pathologist who performed the autopsy, removed Einstein's brain without the permission of his family. He kept the brain in a jar. He dissected it into 240 blocks, making 1,000 microscopic slides of the brain tissue. The microscope slides were sent all over the world for research purposes. Number 14. Driving from York Springs or Mechanicsburg to Meteor Crater is a very long drive. This would take 31 hours. The distance is over 2,000 miles, and so this trip needs to be broken down into smaller distances. That is far too much for the average person to drive without stopping. Number 15. The first science-related stop on my journey would have been Columbus, Ohio. And the science-related place I went to would have been the Center of Science and Industry, abbreviated as COSI, and that is located in Columbus, Ohio. Number 16. After leaving Ohio, the second detour was Meredith Caverns, and that location is near Sullivan and Stanton, Missouri. Number 17. Meredith Caverns were formed from the erosion of limestone deposits over millions of years, basically the same way the caves in Pennsylvania have formed, such as Indian Echo Caverns or Penn's Cave. Number 18. The famous outlaw Jesse James was supposedly using those caverns as a hideout. That is the end of the second set of questions. The next set started with number 19. The third detour on the trip would have been in Amarillo, Texas, and I chose a place called Bill's Backyard Classics because I like old cars. Number 20. Finally, Meteor Crater. It was created by an impact from an iron asteroid around 50,000 years ago. This is not what killed the dinosaurs. The impact that killed the dinosaurs happened 65 million years ago. A lot further back in geologic time than this. This was very recent. So this formed a crater that is nearly a mile wide and about 570 feet deep. Number 21. Meteor Crater was created around 50,000 years ago. Number 22. The word Diablo is the word devil. That's what it means. So it's the Spanish word for the word devil. Number 23. For the longest time, the crater was assumed to be a volcanic crater, which means it was thought to have been created by a volcanic eruption. Number 24. The Meteor Crater is the first geologic scar that's ever confirmed to be created by a collision from outer space, which is kind of interesting. Number 25. When you're out in the west and you see those dark red colors, which are really cool, the dark Sedona red color is the result of oxidation. Oxidation is basically a fancy word for rusting, and hematite, which is an iron oxide with the chemical composition or formula FeO3, which Fe is iron and O is oxygen. So basically, iron and oxygen together forms rust. Hematite is a very important iron ore. Number 26. The term organic means, or comes from, or is derived from, related to living matter. So anything that was once alive is considered to be organic. So even if it's no longer alive, like coal, because it came from plants, seashells, because they came from sea creatures. Okay, so that is considered organic, and it probably contains carbon. The term inorganic means not made or derived from a living thing or living matter. In other words, something that's inorganic most likely does not have carbon. Number 28, good vocabulary word. Quintessential, not as necessarily a science vocabulary word, just a very good science vocabulary word. The term quintessential means the most perfect example. Monument Valley is the quintessential example of the American West. Another example we could take is saying someone like Michael Jordan, who was a famous basketball player. He may have been considered the best basketball player ever. He could be considered a quintessential example of a professional basketball player. Number 29, Monument Valley formed during the Permian period. The Permian period took place between 299 and 251 million years ago. The Permian period took place long before the dinosaurs existed. Number 30, many Hollywood movies, or actually movie scenes, have been filmed at Monument Valley. Two of the movies you might be familiar with include Forrest Gump and Part 3 of Back to the Future. Number 31. There are over 50 documented mammal species that live within Mojave National Preserve. 4 of the common mammals listed on the National Park's website include the coyote, with the scientific genus and species name Canis latrans. Bats. Now on the website, I know that they did not list an actual genus and species because there are multiple species of bats that live in the Mojave Desert. So they mentioned on the website that the bats belong to the order Chiroptera. But if you looked a little deeper and searched for species of bats in Mojave, one of them you would have found is the Townsend's big-eared bat, which is Corynothenos townsendii. Another example is bighorn sheep, Ovis canadensis, and you can notice almost the word Canada there, Canada, and the black-tailed jackrabbit, Lepus californicus. Number 32. The La Brea tar pits is home to millions of Ice Age fossils of animals and plants that were trapped in the tar over the past 50,000 years. The stuff that oozes out of the ground at La Brea is actually asphalt, and asphalt is actually a type of crude oil. Number 34. The Los Angeles Basin formed 20 million years ago along the Pacific and North American continental plates. For numbers 33 and 34, that is reversed from your question sheet. So this is the actual order of the video. So the video asks first about asphalt, and then the video mentions the age. So those two questions are flip-flopped if you're confused. Number 35. The boundary line between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate is called, you guessed it, the San Andreas Fault. You all should be familiar with that. Number 36. Tiny little creatures called diatoms, which are a type of algae that have a glass-like silicate shell, still live till this day in the oceans and even in freshwater ponds. But they were also found in this basin, which eventually they become part of the oil and deposits in the basin. Number 37, the 6th Street Fault is right next to La Brea tar pits. So all through that area of California, there are multiple fault lines. Number 38, there's 3 basic common tools that the narrator mentions to remove the bones from the matrix. The matrix is the soil and the sediment that surrounds the bones. 3 simple tools, a dental pick, a hammer, and then a screwdriver or a chisel are used. Number 39, the 3 bits of information, things that the person doing the excavating puts into a field notebook, include measurements, reference points of north and west, and also the depth measurement. They include information in a notebook that goes onto also a note card, which stays with the fossil when it's taken from the site into the lab for further cleaning. They also record daily observations. They also include the actual grid they're working on, the people they're working with, and the type of matrix, the type of soil that they're working in. Also, photographs and maps might be taken or created and included. And finally, if you're interested in earning an A on this project, the minimum requirement would be 4 different locations and 2 photographs for each location. So that's going to be 8 total images in your presentation. A minimum of 2 pictures for each location. You also need 2 facts for each location. The facts should be good detail facts. So not just a word or 2, but a sentence or 2 possibly. A good example is to go back and look at the meteor crater example on my presentation, or the Meredith Caverns example. And you can see that there's a little more detail, and that's what I expect to see from you guys. A picture, like the picture of Meredith Caverns, and then some information about the location. Also, minimum 1 video from at least one of the 4 locations. So I included video clips, I believe, from all of the locations because I was trying to use the whole presentation as a teaching tool. I would like you to have at least 1 video from one of your locations. You don't have to worry about one from each place. So just one video. If you find a few more, that's great. And then, of course, you do need to do a presentation to class. So you need to stand up in front. We'll project your video. We'll project your PowerPoint, Google Slides, and we will present your information to the class. And hopefully you can uncover some interesting places that some of us have never heard of. So good luck. And as you look at the slide presentation, you can also see if you go above and beyond the normal expectations. I'm always willing to give you bonus points or extra credit. As I've said for years, in life, not just as a student, you get out of things what you put into things. It's a famous old expression, garbage in, garbage out. So if you put some energy and effort into this activity, it could be fun, and it should be a good learning experience. And you're not the only one doing the learning. We're all going to be learning as you take us through your virtual vacation. So good luck. Please use this video maybe to study from, to look over. There's some information in these slides that I may ask you on a quiz at some point. For instance, I might ask you a question about ringing rocks, and not only where they're located, but maybe what makes them ring. And the answer would be something along the lines of they have an iron content. I might ask you a question about what caused the meteor crater to form, and of course the answer would be an impact from an asteroid from space. Okay, so keep up the great work. I'm really proud of you guys. Keep on plugging ahead and moving forward. Thanks for watching.